Hi everyone, welcome to Conversations with Khofane. I'm Khofane Modise, and today I'm joined by Molefi Letsiki. Hi, Molefi.
Hi. For a minute I'm caught. Do I say good morning, good afternoon?
I said hi everyone.
Okay, so it's
Did
hi.
I say good morning?
No, you said hi.
Yeah.
So it is a hi.
You're excited, aren't you? So am I. So am I.
Yeah,
so for those who don't know, you're in the diamond industry. And when I Googled you, you know what the first line I read was, Molefi Letsiki loves diamonds. I promise you it was the WFDB, and I was like, how did they know? Like, does it ooze from you?
I guess it does, you know. It's I guess it's something that's right within me, you know. When I say I love diamonds, I genuinely do, you know. Their beauty, you know, the light or the scintillation they strike, you know, for me really always hits home, and there's just that feel that you get with them that I just love so much, and I really do love diamonds. Yeah.
For an African man, it's not something that you hear often. I mean, we talk about bling and we talk about gold, and not really do we talk about diamonds. So where did your love for diamonds really come from?
You know, so my relationship with diamonds started more as a hate relationship, you know. My father used to work as a diamond polisher, and the irony of hearing about diamonds, yet I had never seen or touched one in my life. And I remember the journey started with a trip from school going back home, you know, where I would have to wait for my dad and we'll travel back home together. And those waits started outside his office. Before you know it, I was in the reception area. And before you know it, it was in the factory. And I remember literally one of the days while they were cutting and polishing, one of the polishers picked up a tongue as he was looking through the stone. And I was intrigued because as the tongue went up, I saw this light that came from the tongue. And I was keen to see what this light is. And I was given a loop to look, and literally that day looking into that stone, the scintillation that just came from that stone made me fall in love with diamonds. I just, the beauty that I saw, it just struck me, you know. And that's the day the love for me really began, you know. And at the time, I mean, I just knew that there's just something about this, what I had just seen. And it was years later where I then got the passion to really want to bring out the beauty of every single diamond that I can never get an opportunity to come across or get to work on, you know. At the time, it was just that scintillation. But with time, I knew that scintillation is not something that you can just get by cutting and polishing. You need to achieve certain parameters, cut it in a certain way in order to get the best of that. And for me, that spoke to a lot of different things as well. I think generally in life, you know, how you could look at a piece of carbon and think it's worth nothing. But when it's in the best of hands, how much beauty can come out of it.
I think that kind of speaks to your life story in general. Like, you know, you think it's nothing, but, you know, with great care and attention, it becomes something.
Yeah.
And, you know, today we're talking about leadership in the diamond industry, but it's really hard to kind of jump into that without giving some sort of attribution to your father and the role he played in you becoming the man you are today.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it had to start somewhere, you know, and I you know, I always say to people, I'm a second generation, because it's not like I discovered diamonds somewhere. It's something that I heard about in the kitchen or in the living room, and I didn't like hearing about it. But over time, guess what? Guess who's talking about it now? You know, yeah.
So, I mean, how did your father kind of, was it just you seeing him work with diamonds that caused the curiosity? Or was it a situation where he kind of molded or carved your mindset to kind of open yourself up to the world of diamonds? Because you could have chosen anything else, like DJing, for example.
Or IT.
Or IT.
Look, I think more than anything, it came more from just seeing him do it, you know. And I think for me, the curiosity really grew from wanting to know where it goes. because what sort of captured me was the fact that there are people that are cutting and polishing diamonds every day, but having grown up from the Val or in the township, I had never seen much diamonds anywhere, you know. So for me, the intriguing thing was, where do they eventually go to, you know? And I think at the time, when I started sort of getting into the industry, you know, trying to learn more about it, all at the time, I mean, the whole South African Diamond Center was all in one building, you know, or two buildings next to each other. People were buying diamonds from this floor, cutting them on this office next door and selling them to the office next door. And for me, it was the guy who's buying it, where is he taking it to? You know, and I think that's where the interest came for me, because I wanted to see where it eventually ends up. And you know, it's funny with the statement that you said where it says Molefi Letsiki loves diamonds, you know. And I can look back to those days. For me, in order to know where it ends up or to eventually fall in love with it, you know, it had to take me getting to understand what comes with it. Ooh. You know, because like I'm saying, there's a certain feel that comes with it, you know, and that's not something that you would learn on the bench or that you would experience by looking at a rough diamond sometimes. I think it's only over time that you get those goosebumps when you look at certain rough diamonds, because there's rough diamonds that are beautiful. Just in its own rough format, you look at it and you just get, you know, that good feeling.
That good feeling.
Yeah, man, you know, and I mean, there's diamonds that you will look at and they will just fill your eyes with, you know, with tears, you know, just how beautiful they are, you know, and as you get to cut and polish them and seeing the beauty come out of them, right. You know, it means even more. And then getting to wear it and being it something that for a long time, it was not something that we thought men could wear. You know, I don't know where this notion came from that men shouldn't wear diamonds, but, you know, because, you know, I mean, it
doesn't have to be a lady's best friend. It can also be a man's best friend, right?
Man's best friend.
I love
you know, yeah, man, you can wear it and it can make you feel good, because there's, you know, life, it's all about just getting that good feeling sometimes, you know, that makes you feel like someone or like be someone, you know, and so for me, that's how I feel, you know. I feel like they give you they ooze you with that, and I just love that about it, you know.
I bet when people see you and they see your treats, né? They think, oh my God, I want to be like ML. And that's what they call you. But when you kind of reflect on how far you've come in your journey, what are some of the hurdles that you've undergone leading up to the person you are now?
Do you have 20 hours?
Let's go!
Look, it's been a long journey, you know, to get to where we are today. But I think more than anything, I feel like we're right at the right time of the beginning of a new journey, you know. I mean, I've been in the business for the past 17 years now. I'm quite excited. The business is turning 18 next year, and there's prospects for big things happening with the business. And for me, that on its own, you know, shows the fact that if you really put your time, your energy, and all your resources into what you believe in, eventually you get to achieve the ultimate goal. You know, coming into the industry back in those days, our industry has always been very Jewish dominated. And it's one of those industries that are not easy to penetrate. You know, when you think about it, you essentially, there's no university that you can walk into and you learn about cutting and polishing diamonds. You know, it's mostly colleges, and in most cases you find that with colleges that you go to, even after studying, there's still so much to learn. You know, I think the real learning happens in the factory or in the workspace itself. And for being in South Africa, you know, or being born here or live here, that there's been many challenges, you know, where at some point, for example, black people were not allowed to work in our industry, you know, as cutters and polishers or anything like that. It's something that came over time. So imagine having a business. If you're not even allowed to work, you can't even have a business in that same space, you know. So having been part of, I would say, probably the second generation, you know, that really got to get the opportunity to have businesses in this industry. But I think that one of the other challenges has been other sectors getting to understand our business. You know, one, the diamond industry is very capital intensive. And unfortunately, as I speak to you today, there's no bank in South Africa that finances the industry, or should I say in Africa or even in the world. I know how a lot of banks have pulled out of the industry over the years, you know. That's been one of the biggest challenges. You know, how do I really get to penetrate the international market if I don't have the product at hand?
Right.
You know, so that's been one of the biggest challenges. And I think one of the things that we've seen over the years is the skill dying, you know. Without it being developed further or shared down, you know, which for me, it's one thing I'm passionate about, and a narrative that I would like to see change, you know, where we get to see more and more people being given this skill, you know. I'm glad that technology has come into play, you know, which is helping a lot in terms of making sure that we achieve better results at the end of the day. But, you know, for me, skill, that's one of the biggest things, because one thing I love about diamonds, besides just their beauty and everything, is the difference they get to make in the lives and individuals and communities where they're produced, the lives of those that get to work with them, you know, in terms of cutting and polishing them and so forth. And those that even beneficiate them further by making jewelry out of them and so forth, you know. So they're not just beautiful stones, but they're beautiful stones that have built schools. They're beautiful stones that have built hospitals, that have built roads, that have built communities, you know. I mean, all my life, I've lived on diamonds more than anything at the end of the day. And that just goes to show the difference they can make in an individual's life, you know. And I can tell you stories. I mean, you know, I remember there's an old man that used to work for me, passed away, I think last year due to COVID or something like that. But, you know, this man would come and would come actually with the results of his kids from varsity, and because that sense of pride that my work here gives me the opportunity to take my kids through varsity and through school and all of that. And you know, he worked for me for many years, and you know, even when by the time we parted ways because of age and all of that, we still, our relationship was just too special, you know. We were born same month, so maybe that's why we connected like we did, you know. But for me, what would really touch me or hit me is this, you know, those testimonies or those stories that you get even from the people that work with you in your factory. You know, somebody saying, look, I've extended my house, or I just bought a house, or I paid for this, or I bought a car. You know, things like that. We take them for granted. Sometimes maybe we think it's small things, but they're not, you know. And at the end of the day, if it wasn't for that diamond that we get to cut and polish, those opportunities would not been there.
I really appreciate how you talked about beneficiation, which leads to, you know, your involvement with DeBeers and how that's kind of helped harness and mold your career and your position within the diamond industry. Look,
I think it's a sure, man. You know, when it comes to talking about giants like DeBeers, it's really it's a lot, you know. And I'm saying it's a lot because, you know, one, you get introduced to people through corporate, you know, or to individuals who come and really work with you, you know, with an aim of trying to bring out the best out of you. For me personally, that's how I personally feel about my journey with DeBeers, you know, where I was given an opportunity to can show what I can possibly do or become in life, you know. And I remember when the journey started, I mean, it wasn't easy. It was very tough because, you know, when you are used to doing things in a certain way, and the minute you are told, somebody sits you down and say, no, you can't do it like this. This is how it needs to be done, you know. And you want to argue and say, no, but I've been doing it like this, and it's been working, you know?
Yeah.
But then you realize, once you start getting to understand the bigger picture, that, you know what, we are here to work with you with an aim of assisting you to make sure that you can build a business that will exist outside you.
Oof.
A business that, whether you are hit by a bus tomorrow or not, God forbid, you know, the business can still continue. But more than anything, you know, a business where the whole business is not dependent on you. You know, I think one of the biggest mistakes that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we think that by being involved in everything your business does, that's when the business is doing well. And truth of the matter, it's not, if that's the case, you know. Because a successful business is a business where there's systems and processes in place, where policies have been set in place, where you know, everybody that comes into that space to come get an opportunity to work in that space can be able to go to a book that will guide them, and not to Molefi, who today will tell you it's done like this because that's how he feels that day, and tomorrow it gives you a different perspective altogether, you know. And I think before even anything else, our journey with DeBeers began more like that, you know, where they really helped. I mean, working with Race Corp at the time, you know, to really make sure that they bring out the best of me in the marketing space, me in the sales space, me in the strategy of the business space, and me in an individual space. So I don't forget this session. So I had a personal guide at the time, and in one of our sessions we were having a conversation and really trying to tap into the thinking, you know, of how I think today. And you know, funny enough, in that session we picked up that what happened to me in Standard 5 in 1995 still affected how I make my decisions. You know. And for me, that was like a mind-blowing thing, because then I think it was after then when I started to really open up as well, you know, and really become comfortable, because I realized how some of the decisions that I make in my business today are actually affected by things that happened 10, 20 years ago or something like that. And starting with that on its own started making me change the way I started thinking about my business, you know, starting to realize that I can actually build an international business, you know, and it's when you start tapping into those things where you really start looking at the international world markets, and you then start seeing that, you know what, beneficiation is actually more than just me sitting in the factory cutting and polishing a stone and sending it somewhere, but a lot more can be done to that stone, you know. By adding more value to it and taking it to the world, you know, as opposed to, I think for many years, especially as African companies, we've always sold our diamonds as single stones more than as finished products and so forth, you know. And for me, what excites me about it is that over the years, one got to collaborate with many different companies. I've worked with the likes of Ben & Co. I've worked under a project called Tirisano Moho, with, you know, jewelry designers such as Lilia Hasty. You know, I've worked with so many different designers, and really understanding the essence of beneficiation by making sure that we don't take out the raw materials, but we really add more and more value to it and give the world a true taste of Africa at the end of the day, you know. And that for me has been exciting, you know. I mean, I was in Botswana couple of weeks ago, I was in Namibia. I've met jewelers there, and look, I'm looking forward to really collaborating with some of these individuals that I've met, because I think it's really a time where the world needs to get the better of Africa.
Absolutely. I love how you can't talk about beneficiation or value addition without talking about collaboration. They coexist.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, you know, when you kind of really look at I mean, you've mentioned the benefits of it, but when you kind of really look at it in a sense of putting the ego aside, because because working together means we both benefit.
Yeah.
Not, okay, we're working together, I benefit, and you might benefit at some point.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of strike a balance and really try to define or mold what collaboration really means and the ultimate result from collaboration?
Look, I think more than anything, Becky likes saying this, and I think I'll say his words from Ben & Co. That go somewhere as an individual, you'll go quicker, but not far. But if you really want to go far in life, I know I'm paraphrasing it,
the remix.
But the remix version, But if you really, really want to go far in life, you have to take somebody with you, because in that way you can achieve much more together and be able to reach much more broadly at the end of the day, and for me, I think that's so key. It's I remember I was looking at an interview with Kevin Hart and Jay-Z. Oh man, blew my mind away, where Jay-Z was talking about how sometimes we hold on to ownership so much that we end up owning 100% of nothing, as opposed to owning 10% of something way bigger than you could have imagined. And for me, that's what collaboration is all about. It's about coming together to really build what you couldn't sometimes not even achieve on your own. One thing I've learned about working with people is that the mere fact that I get to work with you already give me access to a network that I do not have, and the vice versa happens. And the more people you have that you do that with, the more networks you have. And like they say, at the end of the day, your true net worth is equals to your network at the end of the day, So that's what collaboration is all about for me. And truth of the matter is, I believe that if only one person benefits, then trust me, it's not going to work out. Somebody's going to wake up one day and say, but why am I doing this? And then somebody else is making money and I'm not, or something like that. Or at the end of the day, both parties, A and B and C and D and E and F, whoever that's involved at the end of the day will need to really see the benefit of it. And it's when they see the benefit that they will invest more of themselves in it. And that's when you will be able to reach even more, So I think it becomes very key. It becomes very critical. And sometimes you find that somebody could be benefiting more than the other because you've never really got to sit down and look at the strategies around it to say how can both benefit. Sometimes I assume that because you're in the space, you know what you're doing, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
But the nice thing about collaborating is it's not just about money. Sometimes you collaborate, and what you get out of it is learning how to do better in your own business or something like that, as opposed to always thinking of it from a monetary value point of view. Yes, we all want money, but money is not everything at the end of the day. It's the feed, man.
It's the feeling, that good feeling.
It's the feel.
I think anyone who's listened, and especially me, just listening to you, and we've been talking for quite some time, really, is you've really shown us your mindset and your heart, which makes sense why you have so many leadership positions. You didn't get those by mistake, okay? Take us through, because you're a chairman of this, chairman of that, and we'll go back to, that title of chairman.
Yeah. Look, I think, at the end of the day, for me, it's less about the position, but more about the ultimate goal of what we really want to achieve at the end of the day, And yes, at times, some of those things come with you being in certain positions, because by being in those positions, then you are able to have a more of an influential role at the end of the day, So yes, I currently sit as the chairman of the South African Diamond Dealers Club, which is a member of the World Federation of Diamond Bosses, which I also sit as an executive committee member of, I am a former president and co-founder of the South African Young Diamond Beneficiaries Guild, which really came from our hearts. We established SAYDBG really with an aim of really accelerating and trying to see more diamonds that are produced in Africa, manufactured in Africa at the end of the day, and making the diamond industry to really but become an attractive prospect career for those that are coming after us or something like that. I've always said some of the dreams that we have about the industry, I know for a fact maybe it's things that won't be achieved in my time, but I would just like to make sure that I'm there to play that role, to make sure that there's a stepping stone for the next generation. I sit as one of the ambassadors for the World Diamond Council systems of warranties, and what else do I do? Like I'm part of the executive committee of this Young Diamantaires and represent the Africa part of it. So I'm the African coordinator of that, which really is a group of young people from across the world with an idea of really saying, we are the next generation. What are we doing to make sure that the industry is doing good for the next generation at the end of the day? And I think, I don't know if there's more, but there's et cetera, Look, it's really been great. It's afforded me, I think, a lot of good opportunities to really have an influence. And for me, I think one of the key elements for me is the fact that I've most of the people that have become before me in the industry are people that come from generations of the business, right. Either second generation. I mean, I've got friends who are 8th generation in this business at the end of the day. And truth is, yes, they have their own challenges. I'm not going to take that away. But I think some of the challenges that I've had, having to start from scratch for a business, it's challenges that which some won't really understand. And then the fact that a lot of the guys in the industry are either based in Europe or based in India, where they still have some sort of access to finance or markets or things like that, So I believe me being able to play that role in leadership, I'm able to bring out a voice that in most cases would not be deemed as a necessity or something like that, And one thing I love is the fact that what I stand for, or what I really fight for, or really push that we achieve. So truth is, for me, being in leadership is really, really trying to find solutions to problems that I've had to face. I know what it's like to get an opportunity to view a parcel and yet don't have the finance to finance it. And you find yourself having to go to either try pre-sell the parcel or something like that, which brings in also collaboration at some point. I know what it's like to need a machine that would help you to enhance your product in terms of your manufacturing, or how sometimes you go view a parcel and you say it's too expensive because you don't have a certain machine that will show you, that small difference that you would achieve to get better results in order to be able to buy it at that price or something like that. So a lot of these challenges that I've had to face, it's challenges that I've had to experience firsthand. And for me, taking up whatever roles or opportunities in terms of leadership is to really try address those challenges that I've had to face, really with the aim of making sure that maybe the next generation does not have to go through every little thing that maybe I can say I went through. Something like that, I
mean, it's interesting that when you talk about leadership and serving, the rain started raining, and then the rain stopped, now that you're done, because rain is often associated with prosperity and blooming and growth. So I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, I see this. I see this. Yeah.
So it's interesting also that, the title chairman is not something new to you. And it really goes back to your faith and your very essence, which is interesting because we have a Bible here. And a beautiful diamond piece. It is so stunning.
Yeah.
And it's a cross. Can you just maybe take us through how the title of chairman and your faith kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy to who you are and the titles you have now?
Look, funny enough, so growing up, I'm a church boy, grew up in the church, spent so much time in the church, I think there was a time I was there every day, man. I had to call myself to order. God, please, No, but I think more than anything, at a very young age, I think I was 16 or 17 at the time, was given an opportunity to become a chairperson of entertainment committee at the time, which then I got to serve under for a good couple of years, maybe a year or two, and 2 or 3, around there. And I remember I was in varsity at the time when I got given an opportunity to become the chairperson of the youth. And for some reason, that has always followed me. I became the chairperson, and for many years. And I remember the funny thing is, I would always say the committee that I was serving with at the time, I think I was the youngest person in that committee. And most of these guys were professionals already in their careers, accountants and this and that. And I kept saying, guys, you guys know better than me. I'm just, but they would always say, no, you are Mr. Chair, you are Mr. Chair, And there's, I don't know if to say a friend of mine, but my deputy chair at this time, her name, Kelezo Majola, used to this day, she's never stopped calling me Mr. Chair. Since back in those days, and Osmathe Pomatsapo Mukubake, she was one of the pastors in the church, and she's still a pastor. Not say she was, she's still a pastor, And that's also the one person that's always kept to it, and many other people would, kept just following through. But these two individuals never stopped calling me Mr. Chair to this day, and Osmatap actually made me aware of it when I became the chairman of the Dealers Club, and it was all over the media, and she was excited, and she called and said, I've always told you are Mr. Chair, and now can you see, God has just put it on you, or bestowed you with it. And I guess it's just that, at the end of the day, you don't realize when certain things have been spoken over your life, you take them light or for granted. But actually they speak into the future at the end of the day, because this, like I'm saying, I think I was, 16, 17, maybe 17, 18 at the time. So this is literally something people have been speaking over my life for the last 20 years or so, and maybe today that's why it doesn't surprise me if it comes. It's a lot of people have spoken it.
Also, it may not surprise you so much because you've always had this entrepreneurial business streak about you. And for those who follow, you know that you say Arasmaning a lot, which translated means let's work. Why do you use that? It's like your mantra, your life philosophy.
Sure. For me, it's just the drive, man. It's that one thing that just gives me the oomph to really do it. And I think the reason I say Harrispanning is because maybe me realizing that it's not something you do alone.
Ooh.
You need more people to do it with you. And my view or my sort of mantra with it is that if we all played our role and worked really hard or really smart in whatever we do at the end of the day, we can make the world a better place and have better lives at the end of the day. And we would, in turn, make so many people's lives better. Because, at the end of the day, it's all about people. There's a sermon I don't forget in my life. I was probably in high school. The late Pastor Maneti Chava, she spoke about King's Kid. That sermon. Trust me, in that sermon, one of the things that I don't forget about it is where she speaks about how each and every single individual that you get to see waking up to go do something in life, they're actually waking up to go do something to serve the next person. And in that sermon, he turns it around and said that next person is you. So everybody that you see on this world, be it they recording, be it they making music, be it they making clothes or building a car, whatever. Everybody who's out there to go do something, they're doing it so that they can serve you as an individual to a certain extent. And that's the someone king's kid. So, to say you're a king's kid. There's people every day that are out there to go do something just to meet a certain need or make fulfill a certain feeling for you in life. And for me, I think that's been mind changing, or life changing per se. And I think that's what it's all about, So the hardest spanning is that let's all do that so that we can be able to fulfill that one person. And by doing so, it's multiple more people. And in that way, I think we'll definitely have a better world.
Absolutely. I love how you keep referring to a better world, a better Africa. So, Molefi, I laugh because there's just something that draws people towards you, I know that for sure. Even now I'm saying, like, I
don't know.
You've been saying, and now I'm saying it draws people to you, and you draw people who look like you.
Really?
And others.
Yeah.
But it's we're drawn to your value system and your ethics and who you are. And so when you kind of look at representation, especially within this diamond industry that's been dominated by a certain group of people, what kind of responsibility does that kind of bestow on you and other people who look like you, saying, hey, let's put a demand on your leadership and your position. If you can, you must do.
Yeah, that's a deep one. Look, I think more than look, it's true. I think over the years I've seen how, like I was saying to you now, I don't know how many of the calls I'm gonna be able to return today, and from yesterday and the day before, because the minute you start looking like you're doing something, I think naturally you start attracting more people, and truth is you'll attract a lot of good people, and there's no bad people. They're not so good people. But one thing I've learned recently, and this for me has been mind-blowing and really life-changing, is that even when you start attracting people, you need to really surround yourself with people that don't necessarily need, but people that deserve.
Ooh.
And sure, that for me blew my mind away, because I think, and especially then I'm talking as a Black African child, most of the time you'll find that the minute you get an opportunity to have a business and you start hiring people, for example, you go look in your communities where you grew up, and in most cases you hire people that need it but not people that deserve it. Yeah. And the challenge with that is that once you're surrounded by too many people that need more than people that deserve, they drain you as an individual, and I think it's very important to make sure that you surround yourself with people that deserve it, and hopefully who are smarter than you, because then they're able to help you to get even further in life, But with all of that said, at the end of the day, I think it's very key. Somebody actually said to me earlier today, that, as God elevates you, or as you get higher in life, make sure that with every floor that you get in, send the lift down, and make sure that it brings the right people up. Some will fall off on different floors and may not necessarily get to the floor you're at, and some will even go beyond the floor that you are at, and I think that's the key element for me. I've always lived by a motto or mantra, I don't know what you call it, but yeah, to say that the more people that you have had an opportunity to have a hand in helping them in any way in terms of their careers, by either opening that door, just holding that door for them to be able to go through, or create any opportunity possible, introduce them to that contact or to that supply or whatever, are the same people that will be able to carry you when things get bad for you, because in business, it's up and downs. 1 minute it's up there, the next minute it's down there, But for many people that have really done well in making sure that they build a community, you'll never see their down days because they've built enough community to make sure that it carries them even at their lowest, you know. So which for me becomes a fundamental issue to say, as doors open and as opportunities come along, make sure that you don't go there alone, you know. I know we're living in a generation of many, and then I think, you know, it's to a certain extent it's acceptable where there's a lot of first. You're the first this, first that, first this, but it has to end at some point.
Yeah.
We can't always be the first of everything at the end of the day, you know. Now we need to have generations of it at the end of the day, and then I think that becomes the most key and critical thing. You can't still be the only black person in the room in 2022, 2023, 2024, 20. That needs to change, you know. And I think that's the key element, and that's not going to change unless we become intentional about it, you know. So which makes it critical to be intentional in making sure that as you get opportunities to grow or to bring on other people, you do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, preach, preacher. Incredible.
Yeah.
And I think something I appreciate, not I think I know, something I appreciate about this entire conversation is that though the title, you're proving to us that when we talk about leadership, we're not talking about titles or positions.
Yeah.
We're talking about impact.
Yeah.
We're talking about intention.
Yeah.
We're talking about the next generation. Remember when you gave a speech at the Ben and Kodo and she said, you know, think the next generation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And so now when you kind of think about Molefi Letsiki Diamonds, what was what is the ultimate goal?
Look, I think the ultimate goal is really to be able to build a business that will have international impact, you know, a business that will play a very pivotal role in supplying of diamonds internationally, but at the same time making a huge difference in South Africa, two, in Africa at large, you know, by making sure that we see more diamonds being beneficiated locally. And you know, for a long time, it's always been said that, no, you know, if you want the skill, you must go there or there. But personally, I always believe that, yes, I understand the dynamics, but we can still do it here. You know, I think if we work very well together with all different stakeholders, be it the government, be it the private sector, we can then ultimately be able to find that solution. So, you know, it's amazing how, for example, in South Africa, we've never had a South African sightholder, you know, or a black majority-owned sightholder company or something like that, you know. And for me, that's still the ultimate goal, you know, to become a sightholder. I know I've spoken to a lot of people that have said to me, nah, you know, being a sightholder, you know, but that's their experience. And I think sometimes the one of the difficult things about life is listening to other people. Just because they say it can be done and you start believing that, I still believe that we can have local sightholders, you know. And by local, I mean South African born companies that become sightholders. A lot of the sightholder companies that we currently have in South Africa, in Botswana, in Namibia, are international companies whom in these countries, they just have a branch. And the sad thing about that is the fact that whenever things go but pear-shaped or business gets tough or something like that, in most instances, companies won't go close their head office in their indigenous country. They'll go close the branches, you know. And in turn, the people in the producing countries end up being the ones that are suffering at the end of the day, because those companies close and they don't have jobs and so forth, you know. So that's why for me it's very, very much deep down in my heart to really see a South African company become a sightholder, a Botswana company become a sightholder, a Namibian company become a sightholder. I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to go speak at the launch of the enterprise development in Namibia, you know, and I was so excited to see young people that are starting companies there. And I think, you know, working together and collaborating with them, we'll eventually see a sightholder from Namibia. And I think, you know, we've been in talks in Botswana with different stakeholders, and I think eventually we'll see it happen. And I think, you know, South Africa will probably lead in that space, you know, and I pray, I hope, and I work very hard that hopefully maybe I'll be the first one. Who knows?
I love that.
Yeah.
And so when you think about your father now, what do you, if he was still alive now, what do you think he'd say to you?
He's here, man.
He's
still alive, yeah.
You're serious?
Yeah.
But then why do you talk about him like he's gone?
Do I?
No, you put it in a way that, oh, my father was.
No, was as in the space. But, you know, but
what does he say now? Tell me.
Look, we have nice conversations.
Look at your face. You're blushing.
Look, no, we do have nice conversations about it once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, whenever we get an opportunity to talk about it. But I guess we I'm sure he's very proud. You know?
Anyone who knows you knows how you talk things down like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Now tell me this.
Yeah.
What does your son
Yeah.
say about you?
Oh, wow, man. So, wow, funny you should say this. So there's this video, I'll actually share it with you, that he posted. So I had posted a video on my story where just part of my speech in Namibia at the ADP launch, and I think my son saw it, and in turn he recorded a video, and in this video he says, this diamond is my dad. And I love him so much. Oh, man. Just the way he says it, man. You know, I think for me, that's something to keep for life. You know, I think it will become that pick-me-up even when times get hard. You know, as we journey on in life, we know sometimes the challenges can really get hard. And sometimes you need those little pick-me-up moments. And for me, that video is that. So yeah, you know, for my son is that. But I think what I'm finding very funny as well now with my kids, and I guess maybe it talks to just how invested maybe I am in the business. My kids, time and again, come home with bottles and stones and stuff, and Daddy, look, I found this diamond, you know, at school, or I found, you know. And actually, if I were to look up somewhere in my office, because I keep some of them, you know. I remember I think it was my daughter, she once found this nice biggish stone, you know, and I've kept it. And my keeping it as me saying, one day I'm gonna find a diamond exactly that size, that shape, you know, and all of that. So it's just me speaking to it. Maybe while it's sitting, that will turn into a diamond. Who knows?
You know? Absolutely love that.
So those, for me, those moments have really, you know, say a lot. You know, how my kids today will come with a stone and say, Daddy, look, I found a diamond. And then I'll take it and say, oh, beautiful, you know, just because it's something shiny. You know how with concrete, it will have a bit of shine there, and to them, it's a diamond, you know. And for me, it's more of a prophecy to say, you know, these are type of stones that you will find, and bigger and stuff, you know.
Love it.
Yeah.
Molefi,
yeah.
Are you proud of yourself?
For what?
For what? What have you done?
No, look, I mean, you know what? I think, yes, I am. You know, I think I am proud of the journey I've walked. Really, and I think, and sometimes maybe it's difficult, you know, just naturally saying it, because it's a journey. You know, you don't really get to see. Because for me, all I think I've done, or all I'm doing, is waking up and going to work, you know, and that's all there is to it. So sometimes it's difficult to say, are you proud? Because I'm just going to work, you know. We just raspan, so raspaning, and that's it, you know. So, but I think looking back and looking at some of the milestones that I've really achieved over the years, yeah, I'm really proud. I mean, 2 weeks ago. There's too many 2 weeks ago, no?
You think?
Yeah, but yeah, 2 weeks or so, a friend of mine came to see me here, you know, and personal friend, and you know, he was in the office and he kept saying, you know, like he was just excited and blah blah blah. But a few days later, he gave me a call and he said, you know what, I'm really proud of you. You've really done well. And for me, for somebody like that to say that to me, I mean, this is a boy in a corporate world. He's up there, and and he says, look, you know what? I can remember many years ago when you were starting out, and to see where you are, of what you've achieved today, I'm really proud of you. But one thing, and I think this really hit home for me, was when he said that I'm proud of you because I know you work very hard, And for me, that's one thing I live by. I think Denzel once said it, that hard work works. And I really believe in that. I believe if you really work hard and put all yourself into it, you can really achieve some of the most amazing things in life. You were talking about my faith earlier. There's a scripture, one of the many scriptures that I love, so many scriptures, but one of the many, the one that says, no mind has seen, or no mind has seen. No, what's the scripture? Why am I forgetting? Ephesians 3:20, man.
Eye hasn't seen, ear hasn't heard.
Ear hasn't heard, what God has in store. Because those things are far more exceedingly above what you can think or even pray for, So sometimes, it's those things that really drive me at the end of the day,
And that's it.
Yeah.
If I ask you another question, we're going to be here for another 2 hours. It's enough.
Is it time up?
It's time up.
Finally. Yeah.
You say finally, but there's so many stories to tell. And I think from my experience and having had experienced you for quite some time, I think if anything, you're true to who you are. And that's something that's very rare as a diamond.
Oh, as rare as a diamond. I like
See
what
I
you did there. No, but yeah, really nice. No, but thank you so much. I mean, sometimes it's really great to share the stories because they become that reminder. Because we forget, people we forget. But I think it's in sharing the stories that we get to remember, and it reignites something in one to get to know really where you want to go at the end of the day. So thank you, appreciate it.
The world, Africa and I, thank you. And thank you to everyone watching and listening. This is Conversations with Mafani. See you next time. Connect with me on all social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Mafani Modise.